Oh yeah, is this working? Very nice. So welcome to the first JTB Reptiles live stream. Obviously, the first thing that I'll start off with is thank you all very much for getting me to 5,000 subscribers, which is a massive milestone, sort of halfway there to 10k, which seems like a really big number, and hopefully we will do that one day. But yeah, I've sort of given all the awkward thank yous in the little post that I made. I have got a little device here which is making irritating noises, and I'll be using this to look at questions if necessary. But while we're here, do feel free to ask me any questions you want, like anything at all. If you want it to be about reptiles, that is perfectly fine. If you want to ask me any other general question, then that is fine too. But with that, that's the general premise of this live stream. I hope you do enjoy it. I'll stick around for as long as you've got questions. Probably if things are like just still moseying on okay, I'll probably end it after like 2 hours. I'm in no particular rush. But anyway, with that, we might as well start off with the first question from Monster Kaiju 13 Beard, who is a good viewer of mine. Thank you for that. I know you've comment on my videos regularly, which is always appreciated. And that is, what was the African species that liked it cool? So just for anybody else watching the live stream, the place where I've got the Western green lizards now in the reptile room, I said a while ago that I was planning on, yeah, no problem. I'd said a while ago that I was planning on getting an African species of reptile that sort of liked low temperatures, and it was going to be in a glass enclosure that was heavily planted, and that was going to be a, hiya Riley, but that was going to be a, well, how do you say it now? There's various names for this reptile: a helmeted chameleon, high caste chameleon, Trioceros ernilii, or von Ernils. Ernil. It's a name of an Austrian zoologist from back in the day. But basically, it's a small type of chameleon from like Uganda and Kenya, I think. Now I've not researched it in a while. And those chameleons are a montane species, so they do like it a lot cooler than people typically think of chameleons liking. But that, what I was going to do for getting the enclosure for that, I was going to do sort of a collaboration with a company that was going to make the glass enclosure. But after several months of waiting around for it to show up, they basically just fell through that, so I decided to do plan B, which was the Lacertas, and I'm sort of glad I did that instead, because I think Lacertas are better than chameleons, just between you and me. But yeah, so rightio, any more questions? How's it going, man? Yeah, okay. Thinking of getting any other reptiles? Yes, I am. I've got something I'm doing in December, which is not necessarily getting any more animals, but I am setting up a new enclosure. And if you watch the reptile room tour, which I'll have out in like a week and a half or something, you'll get the hint as to, well, you should get the hint as to what the enclosure is going to be for that I'm building. But next year, next summer, I am, well, maybe I'll start it in spring. We'll see how that goes. But I've got a plan for a very large enclosure, very large, and probably have rather a large number of individual animals in that, and lots of individuals of different species. So that is quite an exciting one that if you press me with questions, I'll tell you a bit more about it, but I don't want to say too much too early, in case something else happens that means I can't do it, like happened with the chameleon. But this, I think it'll be good. Right, anyway. Barrel, hello there. Hello to you too. Hey, hi Pete. How's it going? Congrats from Riley Boy 10. Thank you. Leanne Abel checking in from the Channel Islands. Hiya. The Western Green Lizards. The Western Green Lizards doing absolutely great. If you sort of looked, I think I put this in a community post. I did put it on my Instagram at JTB_reptile, and I also put it on my Facebook, JTB Reptiles. That I'm not at home at the minute. I am actually at university. This is not my bedroom. I do have the shirt with me though, so that's good. But the Western Green Lizards now, I've not seen them in nearly 2 weeks because on the other side of the country. But from all the info I'm getting from my dad, who's looking after them, as Pete Hawkins tells us there, they do seem to be doing absolutely great. They're feeding every day. They have grown immensely. Seriously, the rate at which they have grown, you would not believe. Hey, Celtic Reptile and Amphibians, just going to mention you, Harvey and Tom. They've sort of suggested feeding them a little bit less because they might be growing too rapidly. Because the amount they can put away is incredible. They're at least 4 times as big as when I got them. So, yeah, and also the changing colour as well. One of them is started to turn green after only a month old, when they typically only start to make that change after they're about 6 months old. So mine really have grown absolutely fast and phenomenal. But yeah, the other question you asked, will I do a video on mercury vapor bulbs? Not in the near future, because I've never used one. I'm always cautious of making videos about things when all I will be doing is reporting somebody else's data and not from my own findings. You know, I want to at least have had a go with something for a while before I tell people whether to use it or not. Congrats from Nathan. Thank you, Nathan. Hey, Laurie's on the stream as well. How's things at uni? We'll see. It's just starting, to be honest, so I don't really know how things are yet. I'm hoping they'll pick up a bit with all these coronavirus regulations and changes to the timetable. It's a bit, but it's not terrible. I can survive. Tech by Ross, hey man, hey to you too. What time is it? Well, it's 7 minutes past 7 p.m. Well done from Celtic. Yeah, cheers, lads. Pete, how's Daddy JTB doing with them animals? He's doing fine, I think. I hope. I've been being sent photos pretty regularly. Most of the reptiles are going into brumation now. So, Char, the bearded dragon, Red the corn snake, all 3 of the leopard geckos, which are living together now. The 2 Chinese leopard snakes, all of them are going into hibernation. So it's a bit less work for me parents to do looking after them while they're gone. But the rest of them, including the baby line day geckos, because I have actually got 5 line day geckos now, because the young hatched just before I went, and they are living in the enclosure with the adults and getting on just fine. But all of them, everything seems to be doing a-okay with the parents just now. And Barrel, what fruits do you recommend feeding to bearded dragons? Well, fruits, I don't really know that fruits would form a natural part of a bearded dragon's diet in the wild. So I don't really recommend giving them much in the way of fruits. Just growing them weeds, like I discussed in that video a while ago, is probably the best. But if you do want to give them any fruits, just tiny little bits of apples and pears and things, they'll be fine with. Sometimes they do really seem to like banana. Mine won't eat banana, but again, with fruit, it really is all about moderation. And also, of course, do avoid avocados, which are potentially deadly. So, you know, do not give them avocados. That's all I'll say there. Reptiles and Research. Hi, Liam. Yeah, I'm not far away from Pete now, so maybe we'll end up doing a collaboration. Jungle Dawn, yeah, they are pretty decent lamps. The Spotted better. Hiya, I see you on Instagram a lot. Thanks for the shout outs in your stories and all that. It's much appreciated. Congratulations. Thank you, Jaziel. I think that's how you say your name. Jafiel. Don't know what language that is. Or what native name that's from. Sorry. My perfect family. Are you living away from home for college? Yeah. I'm in Cambridge, so I'm on the other side of the country, which is a bit. But I do see lots of different animals here than I would do. What's going on now? I won't read that yet. Well done, Liam. Well done. I've not read it, but yeah, living away from home, we do see a lot more wildlife here than I do up in the northwest of England. Just when I was on a walk, like less than an hour ago, I actually saw a muntjac deer, which was cool. And I've also seen great spotted woodpeckers, green woodpeckers, and the melanistic squirrels that are resident to Cambridge. And seen something else as well. Oh yeah, bats. I see bats of an evening, which is cool. Right. David Oakley. Hey, JTB, your dad is looking after your reptiles. Is he qualified? Nah, I'm not concerned about the welfare. I've spent months teaching him how to do it. The huge enclosure you teased, will it be tropical? Distinctly not tropical, actually. Incredibly, definitely not, massively, enormously not tropical. Liam. Why? Can we all get a head shake for Liam? All right, let's carry on. Shankly 1985. Do I have success with arid plants for the leopard gecko vivarium? That's a good question, that actually. Because the answer is no. I find succulents really, 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 really hard to grow in vivarium settings. They really do need high lighting, so even though it's sort of hot and dry, you don't have enough light for them to just flourish. I've found that almost every succulent I've put in a vivarium has died, apart from the one that I put in Char's enclosure, which is a mother-in-law's tongue, and that was doing terribly until one sec. Excuse me, but that was doing terrible until I put the Jungle Dawn LED bar in there, so it had a lot more visible light. And since then, just like throughout the summer, it's been growing really well. But for the leopard geckos, which is a relatively dimly lit enclosure, that has not supported succulents particularly well. But funnily enough, growing sort of tropical typical houseplants is actually really easy in that enclosure, even though it's not highly humid or anything. The devil's ivy or pothos I've got in there, that's doing fab. So, you'd think it was weird that normal houseplants that you think of as jungle plants would do really well in arid enclosures, but they seem to. So, yeah. Yes, Liam is not holding back, is he? We are Lombax, congratulations, and thank you for sharing your wisdom. Don't know if you call it wisdom or pot luck, but thank you. Pete's popping off. Right. See you, Pete. Thanks for joining. How do you respond when people advocate for subpar care and claim they are more experienced simply because they have hundreds of animals? Did you see that video I made where I referenced Go Herping? Well, if you haven't, that's the answer to that question. A congrats from Amadou from Dylan from Animals at Home. Thank you for the congratulations. Am I doing my daily walks? Yes, I am. Because Cambridge is like a collegiate uni, meaning it's got sort of like different colleges that whatever, Google it. I'm basically stopping in a college with really nice grounds, so I can do like a 2 mile double lap at a place, and that's where I see all the animals. And I've actually got some my phone's somewhere else. I'd hold it up to the screen, but that's where I saw that's where I've seen the muntjac deers and the green woodpecker and the great spotted woodpecker and the bats and all that good stuff. Stephen Blackburn, congrats on the 5K, lad. Cheers, lad. My perfect family. To people at your uni know you're a YouTuber, have so many animals. Can we get a sneak peek of me dog? Well, yeah, they know I've obviously told them that I'm on YouTube because it's free subscribers. Got to do that. But a sneak peek of this. Well, sod it. Yeah, go on. That's it. They're my 4 walls. Well, apart from this one, which has got books on it, but it's not really a sneak peek of much. Akaza, sorry I'm late. Congrats on 5K. Don't worry about being late. I am late to everything myself. And thank you for the congratulations. Go in on Go Earth. And no, I'm not starting an anti-Go Earthing rant again, because that didn't necessarily go well. Thanks for the answer. No problem. I bought a jungle dawn that will have switched on for 4 hours a day to make sunshine, so hopefully that will be enough to help the plants. 4 hours a day, if this is for leopard geckos, I would do probably longer than 4 hours a day. It depends on the rest of your setup. Just before I went away to uni, I was having some good conversations with some people from reptile lighting and advancing herpetological husbandry. Ron Murin, Fran Baines, and Serena Wunderlich. And I think we sort of have a way forwards for heating and lighting reptiles. It's sort of an improvement, or at least I think it is. And I think with the technology we've got, it's about the best we can do. Some more experimentation is needed on the particular lamp types that are used for the method. But I think in my mind now, it's sort of solid. And that video that I did on sort of heat transfers, and it's some title about thermostats it was originally. That one is the basis for what is going to be coming when I go back home and do some upgrades, particularly for my bearded dragon and probably the western green lizards as well. I've just lost my train of thought. But that is going to be involving the new techniques, and it is based on that heat transfers video. So if you've not watched that yet, and you're actually interested in heating and lighting, which you should be, then make sure that you have revised the heat transfers video. Right, let's get on. Congrats, man, from Jonathan and Drade. Thank you very much. Alexandre Castelline, I think that's how you say your name. Sorry if I've ruined it. Curious on why you're risking your Leos by planning to put them together. They're solitary and territorial, and even if they do well for years, they can become aggressive. Well, I'll beg to differ with you there, because there are numerous studies which are illustrative of the communal nature of leopard geckos. There's one, I think the sort of main one of them in the wild is Khan et al., Leopard Geckos in Pakistan, it's called. And that one does talk about the sort of social structure, and really does illustrate that leopard geckos in the wild are not animals which hold territories. They do form groups, and males are territorial, but females are not. So, and there are like actual benefits to the animals from social interaction, and I do actually have them together now. The females have been together since I got them in February, and they've all been together in the same vivarium, I want to say, since near the end of August, and I haven't really had any problems. But anyway, this topic, I don't want to recommend keeping them together yet because all the sort of papers and stuff that I've read, they're not fresh in my mind. I want to go back to them all at some point, and I'll make a complete video about this. But to say that they are territorial and that it is necessarily bad to keep them together is not correct, I'm afraid to say. Like, let's Hi, weird question. In your view, is it safe to feed occasional house spider to bearded dragon along with normal varied diet? Yeah, I do catch wild invertebrates, including spiders, to feed my reptiles. And it is just a great way of varying the diet. Obviously, make sure that whatever you give them is not going to be harmful in any way, shape, or form. So, what you have in the States, I think you call them lightning bugs. Those, excuse me, are deadly if they're eaten. So whatever you do, maybe go on like a Facebook group that talks about like identifying insects and find out if what you've got is toxic or whatever. And if it is, then don't feed it off. If you know, if it's not, then yeah, feeding wild insects I do. And of course arachnids like spiders. Also, the Leo market is oversaturated. Why do you want to contribute to that? Well, there is a big argument to be had there. Firstly, is that I want, to an extent, to prove that, like, for breeding animals, that keeping them in decent surroundings is a viable way of breeding them. So if people are to keep animals at home on a smaller scale and have like good enclosures for them, then even for such a common animal as a leopard gecko, you can like breed them just as effectively, if not I would expect better, than if you were to have them in the typical prison-like conditions that you know they usually are in racks. And also, once I've got my own babies, I want to have sort of literally just for me personally to get the experience of breeding, so that in the future, if I'm keeping rarer species and or doing anything for serious conservation breeding projects, well, if I make any mistakes now with leopard geckos, then okay, it's sad for the individual geckos, but you know, bluntly, I would rather manage to like kill a set of eggs for leopard geckos than for the last eggs of a species of some rare reptile if I end up working in conservation. And then finally, if I have the opportunity, once I have young, I would like to go through some trials of raising the young leopard geckos in the typical sterile rack conditions, and some of them in like, you know, with UV lighting and all that other stuff that I go in for, and see if there's a developmental difference, to see if they do better with one method or the other. And so there is sort of an educational aspect and like an improving of things across the board. Because if it comes out that the ones kept in naturalistic enclosures develop much better and much more aggressive around food, grow faster than the ones that are kept in racks, well, it's sort of another arrow in the quiver, isn't it, for progressing reptile care. I'd never tell people at uni I'm on YouTube, ain't worth the hassle from. I've not had any hassle so far. Massive congratulations, mate, from Lee. Cheers, Lee. Hey, can you think of some reptiles, Dendrobarties, amphibians that don't need any special care, like, for example, the mourning gecko? What do you mean by special care? As far as I'm concerned, every single species should be delivered an environment which is as close as you can feasibly get it to what would be their wild environment. So if that's what you're calling special care, then the answer is no species. Any plans for a paludarium build? I absolutely love them in any form. The big enclosure build in December. I don't know. I won't answer that one yet, because I'll say something and then you'll all hold me to it, and then I'll feel guilty if I go against it. Oh, hang on, what's going on? I'm losing the questions, they're disappearing. Whoa. That's better. What is one animal you want to remove from the pet trade? Are there any animals you regretted getting? I know that you've mentioned you haven't loved having a crest. Animals that I would want to remove from the pet trade. This is going to be a bone of contention, but I don't really agree with just the lay person keeping like full-size reticulated pythons and Burmese pythons and even like large iguanas. That doesn't mean I want them banned. I just think that the majority of people that are keeping them are never going to be able to provide those animals with the space that they need to flourish. Like, enough people don't keep leopard geckos right, but keeping them right and progressing them to the point where you're using all of the knowledge and technology at your disposal to create an environment that is as close to that animal's wild environment. It is doable. But for something as large as a reticulated python or a green anaconda, I don't think for the general person that it is doable. And therefore, I think that keeping those animals, I would feel, should be down. It should be more stringent than anybody can just go and buy one. Like, I could just go out and buy the largest snake in the world and stick it in a plastic box and chuck a frozen thawed rabbit in with it, like every now and again, and that is okay. Not in my mind. But whether I would want them removed from the pet trade is a different question, and the answer to that's probably no, because I think if people do have the ability to keep an animal well, then they should be allowed to do it, But I won't get into that one because it's going into politics, isn't it? Politics. Any animals you've regretted getting? I know you've mentioned you haven't loved having a cresty. Well, in that case, I think my crested gecko, Splat, is just it's just a bit awkward because he's awake at a time when I am not awake. So I don't see him active, and for me, I'm not really bothered about holding my animals. I let my animals out if they sort of scratch at the doors and want out. And I prefer to just sit back and watch my animals and enjoy them doing their behaviour. So an animal which sleeps during all the time that I am awake is not necessarily the best. The Chinese leopard snakes too are phenomenally shy, but as they are a breeding project and a sort of rarer species, and they are becoming less shy, and they're getting better with taking food from me and so on, they are sort of getting better, so I wouldn't say I regretted them, even though they're not my favourite. Alexander, again, and congrats on 5k subs. Thank you very much. And to go if it was well deserved. Yep. Thank you very much again, H. Risson. I think that's how you say that. Shankly 1985, 12-hour DP projector, Shade Dweller 10 hours, and Jungle Dawn 4 hours. Do you think I should put it on longer? The DP projector, I would say switch out for a tungsten halogen lamp, tungsten filament lamp, whatever you want to call it. Just because you get the superior spectrum with regards to closeness to sunlight. The Shade Dweller, 10 hours. That could be okay. The Jungle Dawn, I would say you could put that on for 11 hours. I did the video on this on Photo Periods where I sort of explained where it's tungsten halogen on for the longest, then visible lighting like LEDs on next longest, and UV lamps on for the final part. But whether that actually applies to crepuscular lighting for crepuscular animals is debatable. And another thing that I've been thinking about, and another thing which I will return to when I'm back home from university, and can sort of think about it a bit more. But we might end up doing something different with those, where we just have all lamps on for 12 hours a day. But again, it's a little bit too in depth for me to explain here. But definitely the Jungle Dawn you can have on for longer than 4 hours. Right, a question from Leah. How are you feeling after years of struggling to finally hit 5K? Well, I'm happy. I'll say that. But yeah, that's about it. I'm happy, really. I don't really go in for mega emotional stuff, so just happy. What's one reptile you'd want to have in your care if that you don't yet? I don't know. No, I've not answered that already, Barrel. Well, I could tell you all of the reptiles that I'm wanting to get next year. Numerous lacertids, let's say that. Yeah, let's go for numerous lacertids. I am a big lacerta fan. I mean, I've only got the two individual western green lizards, but lacertas have always sort of been a favourite of mine. I just really like them. Like European-eyed lizards, I do think are absolutely incredible, and I would really like to have those, but that's just the space, and so I don't really know if I'll keep one of those in the near future, but one of those definitely would be a dream animal. At least I just say it's business. Can't imagine it feels to hit 5K, such an awesome achievement. I am fairly chuffed with 5K, gotta say that. Are you planning on bringing any of your animals to university or purchasing any new ones? No, I can't bring any animals to university. They all have to stay at home. And also moving those enclosures is not going to happen, especially the Western Green Lizard one with all those rocks in. Purchasing any new ones? Yeah, like I've said, in the new year, me and another YouTube channel, hopefully, might end up doing a bit of a large collab. And that will involve some new reptiles. So next question. So it's safe to feed house spiders in your home to bearded dragons? Yeah, I would say so. Oh, hang on. The bloody comments have gone again. Where are we? Aha. Yep, congrats on the 5K from Dave Allen. Cheers, Dave. If you could come back as a reptile, what would you come back as? Ooh, that's an interesting question. Well, that's a different answer to what my favourite reptile is, to be honest. What would I come back as? It would have to be something that could like do something really interesting that I can't. So like being like a tokay gecko or something, and you could climb upside down on walls. That would be cool. Or being like a Draco lizard and being sort of able to glide great distances would be fun. Yeah, something like that. Or maybe like a type of crocodile or something, and then you could hold your breath and swim underwater for a great distance, like a saltwater crocodile, and swim in the sea for miles, and then like go and eat kangaroos or something. I don't know. That might be fun. Hard question that. I'd have to think about that one. Congrats on the 5K. Thank you, Green Sapling. What do you think about morphs like spider ball python and enigma leopard geckos and hybrids like bat eater pythons, king saint hybrids? Morphs which are immediately detrimental to the animal's health, just stop breeding them. Liam from Reptiles and Research did a good video on that. But seriously, if you want like a fancy coloured species or animal, go for a different species. Why go in? Why would you want to take an animal which is perfectly healthy and perfectly beautiful in its own right and just breed it to make it worth more money and objectively more beautiful when the animal has an impaired quality of life, it's not responsible. And so I would just say, don't do that. Just don't continue breeding them. You know, just don't. Is my answer to that one. Hybrids. It depends where you're going, and what you mean by a hybrid. If you mean a mixed species hybrid, so the hybrid is infertile, then if it doesn't have health problems and if the parent animals are not sort of harmed by the interaction with an individual of another species, then it doesn't really bother me. I suppose in some cases it might happen in nature anyway. But where the debate about mixing localities and subspecies, I made the video that nobody watched, with Charles Darwin and Nensitina the salamander in the thumbnail. And that one I talked about the concept of a species and subspecies. But in that case, I sort of don't really follow the subspecies thing. I think a locality thing may be more useful. Certainly picking up different clades, like for example saying that the eastern green lizard marks a different clade to the western green lizard, I'm fully supportive of. Whether that makes it a different subspecies, I sort of feel that the whole idea of a subspecies, given how poorly defined it is not particularly useful, but certainly recognising different clades and in captivity, maintaining the separate clades as separate could certainly be useful in the future for conservation efforts. And therefore, I would suggest that avoiding hybrid localities or hybrid subspecies could potentially be a sensible move. Whether it's necessarily the absolute best move, I suppose it's got to be on a case-by-case basis, but generally I would say that I'm against it. Laurie Torini agrees with me about the retics and berms. Yeah, they're just like not really suitable animals for most people to keep. Northern Exotics popping on to say hi, thank you. With special care, I meant simple care where, for example, no special heating is needed. Using, for example, morning geckos that don't need basically any heating, you can just build a viv for them. Heating and lighting are separate things. Every single reptile and every single amphibian, I would say does need exposure to radiation, which is separate to heating. And again, that is something that I sort of alluded to in the heat transfers video, and we'll be talking about more in the coming months. So if that's what you mean by requiring any special heating or anything, then I would say no. Every species should have that available to them. Yeah. How long will uni be, from Nathan? Well, this I'm playing with a little quickie thing. I'll get rid of it because it's probably irritating people. But uni this term ends near like the 10th of December, round about then, and then I'm home for a month, and then I'm away for another 2 months, home for a month, away for another 2 months, and then I'm off for months over the summer. So although sort of what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so although at the minute it sort of feels like I'm away for ages, if once I've sort of got a chance to get into the swing of how things are going to work, and I'm doing stuff in the time off, preparing videos, it shouldn't actually be too bad, I don't think. But yeah, away for 2 months at a time. Thanks for the answer. Loads of congratulations on 5K, and hope you have a great uni experience. Thanks, Daniel. Leanne Abel, another question. What are your plans for the JTB channel in the future? That's a good question. Don't really know. I've never really had a plan for JTB Reptiles. I certainly didn't plan on it getting 5,000 subscribers. Because it sort of started off as, in the very early days, as just a bit of an outlet for me to talk about things. Because, you know, nobody in real life was like interested in reptiles or amphibians or anything like that. So sort of making YouTube videos was a way to communicate my interests and sort of try and teach people about things. And when I sort of realized that things in the hobby don't make sense, I wanted to sort of share how things didn't make sense, like about loose substrates and impaction is one thing which I've covered numerous times, and like lighting and so on. People say things, but it doesn't actually follow any sort of logical reasoning, and I wanted to be able to discuss that. So JTB Reptiles, more or less, was just an outlet for talking and discussing ideas, not so much a brand or a project or a tool to get me anywhere. But now that it's sort of reached that size, I suppose I do really have to sit back and acknowledge that I do have quite a large voice now, and I'm developing a platform where I can begin to influence reptile keeping in a relatively large way. So certainly that is going to be on my mind moving forwards. And that could possibly influence the direction of the channel, but as of yet, no particular plans. Nice to see you on a more casual basis. I'm a casual guy. Of course, it's 100% remote online now. Yeah, it's not good, the current situation with everything being online. Some of your favourite plants, some of your favourite items for enclosure builds. Favourite plants, mother-in-law's tongue is an incredibly hardy, incredibly versatile one. So I do recommend that. Devil's Ivy, Pothos, of course, absolute classic, like that plant. Nerogelia bromeliads, they're also really good. Then there is, what am I thinking of? The Dichondra in the Western green lizard enclosure, which is sort of the one that's like the carpeting plant. That's really nice. I really like that. That I bought, it's like a garden pot plant, a trailing garden plant. So it's not like a vivarium plant or anything, but it's a good one. I like it. Favorite items for enclosure builds? Definitely real rock. Gotta be real rock. I never really like fake rock backgrounds. Some people are really good at making them and making them look real, but they still aren't real. They don't have the same textures and thermal properties. So I prefer real rock for that. And of course, when you know that something is real, that is part of the beauty of the enclosure, because you can look at it and know that it's real, rather than if you fake it, then you sort of look at it and think, wow, that looks so much like the real thing. It's not the real thing though, is it? Which is why I like real rocks, even though they are heavy. But yeah, said this Garter Snake God, can't be here for long, but congrats on that 5K. You deserve millions more. Thank you very much, and also thank you for your support. I know that you follow me on Instagram. But yeah, that's all the questions we've got so far. Feel free to bang me any questions. If you want to ask me any particular questions about what you're doing with your enclosures, or can you do this, or can't you do that, then I'll try my best now to answer them. If you've left me any comments on any of my videos that I've managed to miss and you'd like me to answer them, then feel free to reiterate them here and I can answer them in person, which might be a little less awkward. And of course, any questions on like random questions. What's my favourite reptile, for example? If you want to ask me that, feel free. Ask. Ask away. Communicate away. I suppose while we're getting no questions in, I might as well divulge. I think that's the word. Diverge. I don't know. Don't hold me. Don't hold me accountable for incorrect words. I might as well tell you a little bit, just a little bit, just a tiny bit about what I've got planned. Oh, hang on. See, people are asking questions now. That means I can. I won't give the game away. One question I've had is: do you plan on using plants for the leopard snakes? If so, what kind? I did want to use plants in those enclosures, but they're sort of not well lit enough for plants to do well in them. I don't think so. I sort of haven't planted anything in them. And the visible lighting is not bright enough. And also, I have added a lot more branches into the setups now, which do really fill out the enclosures. I'm not sure if you've seen those on any videos. The collaborative room tour I did, which is on the Celtic Reptile and Amphibian YouTube channel, that does show more of the branches. So those enclosures are looking good now, but no live plants for those. What is your favourite reptile? Nile crocodile, folks. There's, as far as I'm aware, there's only one species of reptile in the world that can catch zebras, and that is a cool reptile. Big question: lizards or snakes? Ooh, that's a low blow. That is a low blow, because whatever I say, people aren't going to like the answer. But it's lizards. I prefer lizards to snakes. I don't know. It's sort of one of those things where it's like the buzz you get from looking at them, and like enjoying watching them. And just personally, I find lizards cooler, more interesting, more fun to look at. Excuse me. So definitely lizards. What is my favourite non-reptile, like your favourite mammal? Ooh. Very good question, Laurie. Very good question. I do like a golden eagle. I do like wolves. I do like bears. I'm edging towards grey wolf, but I am also I do like birds. But then I also like fish. Oh, hang on, well, favorite mammal. Let's answer that question. Probably a grey wolf or painted wolf, African hunting dog, whatever you want to call it. So some sort of pack hunting canid. Other reptile. Favorite bird's probably got to be a golden eagle. I don't want to say anything here because in the future I'll regret saying these answers. But you sort of see where I'm heading with those. Nathan, I have a bearded dragon at the moment only, but feel I will get into snakes more into the future, but I'll keep lizards forever though. Yeah, I think for me, I like sort of a variety in the animals that I keep. So I've got geckos, I've got lacertas, I've got an agamid, I've got colubrids. I haven't got any pythons or boas. But even though I've not got a tremendous number of reptiles, I do try and keep a good variety in there. So that I just get that flavour of the different groups and just see all the different behaviour. I really would not like to just keep one species. I like bearded dragons, but I think just keeping just bearded dragons, it would sort of give you an impoverished view of what reptiles are on the whole and just how varied they are as a group of animals. But yeah, gerbils are the best. I like rodents, to be honest. Gerbils are cool. But I don't know if they're the best. Scale sliders, hello. Hello to you too. Celtic Reptile and Amphibian, where do you see yourself and your channel in 5 years? in the job centre. I don't know. Hopefully, hopefully, still, I want to do more with conservation. So Celtic Reptile Amphibian, talking directly to you. I definitely want to do more sort of the conservation stuff that you're doing, but I also want to do more science stuff, which is why I have come to university, so I can get that degree and prove that I'm able to do that. So I'm thinking of along the lines of sort of the genetics, taxonomy, evolutionary sort of stuff utilized in reptilian conservation, and still doing the YouTube as sort of like an aside for still progressing the keeping of reptiles in the private sector. So sort of a bit of a mixed bag, but it's reptiles all the way, put it that way. Oh, and I'll probably get more into amphibians as well, because my amphibian knowledge and amphibian experience in keeping is most certainly lacking, because I've only really kept African dwarf frogs, and yeah, they don't really count, especially when you've only got them in a fish tank. I currently have a 4-month-old granite corn snake. Very nice. Now you want a dagu. Dagus. I feel sorry for dagus. Every time you see one of them in a pet shop and somebody comes in, you go, "Oh, look, it's a rat!" But it's not. It's a dagu. So poor dagus. Exactly. I want to get a corn snake soon, like your fella Red. He's cool. Yeah, Red the corn snake is a cool dude. He's really really personable. Whenever you open the enclosure doors, he'll come out and say hello, and then slither down the cabinet and get on the floor and get all in the way, which can be irritating. But he is really personable, and he is a really fun animal to own. Yeah. My snake's name is Pickle. Don't even ask. Haha. Okay, I won't ask. Oh, come on, you hate pickles. Pickles are, in fact, pickles. Come on, folks, you gotta love them. Wonder if let's pretend that never happened. Wonder if I can ask you a practical question. I'm in the final stages of building my own 5x3x3 viv. I'm a bit stuck with the vents. Can I just use ordinary air conditioning vents for vents, to be honest? So probably, yeah. I mean, I don't really know what you mean by ordinary air conditioning vents. In fact, I would go on a new tab and search it, but if I do that, there's pickle comments coming in. I'm getting distracted. Don't look at the pickle comments. But yeah, a bit stuck with the ordinary air vents. If they're what you mean, like these sort of rectangular ones with the sort of slits in like that, then yeah, you can use them. Just obviously, make sure that if you're going to be having live feeders or whatever, then on the outside of the enclosure that you do put like some sort of meshing or whatever, so that they can't get out, because nobody likes having crickets chirping in the room of the night. And obviously make sure if it's a snake or something, then it can't squeeze out, or a small lizard. But a vent's a vent at the end of the day. If it'll work practically, then go for it. Of course, I do have a whole jar of pickles. You want to see the 4 different types of piccalilli I've got in my room as well. Will you ever get some amphibians like dart frogs? A lot of people in the hobby make some incredible enclosures. I'm sure you would make a beautiful enclosure. I was going to get dart frogs at one point, and I do really like dart frogs. I would still like to keep dart frogs. But there is a Madagascan analogue of dart frogs, which might go well in a biotope with a species that I already keep. And if I were to have a larger enclosure for them, which I may or may not be building in a couple of months, then it might work out that they all live together. Maybe. I don't know. Just think about that one in your spare time. I hope I would make a beautiful enclosure, by the way. Either that or I'd mess it up. Um, Joe, remember when I tried adding you on Facebook for ages, had to get around to tell you to add me, Lamal? I didn't know you were trying to add me on Facebook for ages. But yeah, if anybody sends me any messages on Facebook or anything like that, and I just like appear to ignore them, or like I see a message and then don't respond to it for ages, it's because I've forgotten. I do have a habit of forgetting messages and comments, so um, I've had the same escape cricket chirping in my reptile room for a week. It went behind my reticulative and I can't get him out. Thinking about sending a spider in after it. Yeah, you want like that's what they should do. Instead of those like stupid sticky tape cricket traps that they make, we should have like heat seeking missiles. Oh God, I'm dying. Let's just start again. We should have like heat-seeking missiles for crickets, which might not work actually. Now that I've thought about that stupid comment, because crickets are cold-blooded, aren't they? Oh well. But I agree with you. We want to train spiders to kill crickets, something like that. They're awful. Thoughts on tortoises? I do like tortoises. I was going to keep a tortoise. Before I had the chameleon idea, which never happened, I was going to keep a tortoise. But honestly, I think that tortoises need more space than I would have been able to provide one with. So I didn't end up getting a tortoise, but tortoises are cool. To be honest, chelonians are sort of my least favourite group of reptiles. So, out of what we typically call reptiles, lizards are the top, then probably crocodilians, then snakes, then chelonians after that, and probably amphisbaenians after that. But I don't really have much experience with amphisbaenians, obviously, and chihuahuas are up there with lizards. But since I saw Harvey and Tom of Celtic Reptile and Amphibians, European Pond Turtle, I've sort of been like, oh, amazed with turtles ever since, like particularly aquatic terrapins. So, I do rather like them. Didn't before, do now. Right. Um, what's my dream species? Oh, I think it's got to be. You see, I would say I do really like European eyed lizards. I think they're beautiful and I like the behaviour. Um, but they are readily available. So whether it's like sort of something that is like really quite possible to keep, I don't know if you would call that a dream species then. So probably blue tree monitor, because those are really hard to get a hold of. They're my favourite colour. I think they're a beautiful shape. They're active and good to like just watch and enjoy, which is really what I like with a reptile. So those are probably up there. But then, yeah, of course, the fly. But yeah, the Lacertas are good, but I think for like an actual dream species, it's got to be the blue tree monitor. European tortoises really need an outdoor area, most commonly around 4 foot by 8 foot. Yeah, that's why I decided not to keep a tortoise, because just that space. I don't think 4 by 2 foot is really enough space at all for the tortoise. So just put up 3 new Instagram posts, which put a tiny dent in the massive battle of pictures. So good for you. Catherine, hi Joe. Well done on 5K. Loving watching. Thank you, Catherine. What's the large tortoise species that gets 100 plus pounds? I don't work in pounds and I don't know how much they weigh, but the large tortoise species, there's Aldabras, there's sulcatas are fairly big, and there's the Galapagos tortoises. Now, I don't know if the Galapagos tortoises constitute separate species or whether they're different just localities because they're on different islands and so on. So I don't know whether they are separate species or just one. Again, land tortoises, as well, just chelonians generally, I'm not particularly well up on, but they are the large ones I am aware of. Outdoor tortoise pens look awesome if done right. I don't know how people keep them inside year round feasibly. Yeah, tortoises, nomadic animals, got to be outside, really. True, but the ones that you see everywhere, zoos, etc., it's the ones that the large tortoises that you see everywhere are pretty much just sulcatas because people keep them so often in the pet trade, and then they end up getting dumped when people don't want them because they get dead big and they dig incredibly well. So they're not really suitable pets for the majority of people, and therefore they end up being dumped in zoos, and that's how you see them. Yeah, having a big sulcata is basically a pony with a shell. Yeah, that's basically it. Although they aren't particularly good at jumping, I will put that out there. Redfoot tortoises, they are cool. I think my favourite land tortoise is, Geomida spengleri, the Vietnamese black-breasted leaf turtle. They are, wow, they are a cool tortoise. Yeah, you should look at Xenogama Tyleri. They're really fun to look at, always active, and you can keep them in groups. Xenogama, I presume that's the type of a gama. I'll have a look at what those are later. But yeah, definitely the diurnal lizards are my sort of favourite group of reptiles. Just because lizards are my favourite group. And I do like being able to watch animals perform the behaviour. And as I am not a late nighter, having animals which are diurnal is just great, really. And of course, lizards as well do often have lots of interesting social interaction. So that gives you something else to watch. And of course, they are often very brightly coloured or use colour in the displays, which is something that us humans, as visually driven animals, are able to pick up on and does make them more entertaining from just a watching perspective. So definitely lizards, top notch. What's my favourite website for reptile supplies? To be honest, I don't have a favourite website. I just interchangeably use Internet Reptile, Northampton Reptile Centre, Swell Reptiles. They're the main three, to be honest. And I just, whichever one's got a discount code or anything I can use, or they have a 10% off sale, I'll just go for any one of the three, to be honest. Just get it cheapest. And then, of course, there is my local reptile shop, Sutton Pets and Exotics, or one of them, and they have an online site, and occasionally some of their stuff is actually cheaper, so I can just order it online, and then the local reptile shop comes around in a van, which is cool. Whoever said sulcata to us? Would you ever think about getting into DWA, dangerous wild animals? Well, come on, Liam. You saw how I coped with the bloody Chinese leopard snakes coming at me. I don't think dangerous wild animals are coming my way anytime soon. Just on I find all reptiles interesting, and keeping something that was venomous. It's more variety and more interest. So, if I were to have the time and the knowledge to look after them sensibly, then yeah. But for the risk involved and the amount of training and the seriousness, it would not be anywhere near on the cards at the moment. So for now, I might as well just say no for that. Pretty sure Tyler Rye, the shield-tailed agamas, shield-tailed agamas. That, I think I know what they look like. I'll have to look into them. When I'm older, I would probably want to get into breeding garters and ball pythons. Not sure though. Garter snakes, I think, are awesome. I really do. I really like garter snakes. They're almost lizard-like, it seems to me, whenever I see videos of them. Just the activity out of them and sort of the amount that they breathe and the amount that they move round, um, and, like, even the other habits, they do really seem quite lizard-like, and, so I would definitely, like to keep garter snakes and breeding them. That would be cool. I love your channel so much. Thank you. I love comments like that so much because it makes it worth it. Um, Small lizards around 12 centimeters. Yeah, small lizards are great as well because as long as they're bold and not especially shy, then if they're small, you can have like a large enclosure with several individuals, and you really get to really enjoy the behavior, which, if you've got one animal in the same size enclosure, which is big enough for that one animal, but way too small for it to be in a group sensibly, then you don't get as much enjoyment. Obviously, for some animals, I would never ever recommend keeping them together. Like, I mean, bearded dragons is one case where they are particularly territorial, and it's just like not worth it. But for lots of other lizards, it is doable. But again, it is reliant on that space, and just achieving that space is easier with smaller species. So it's definitely something to consider. Um, you want my leopard gecko proper heat, and now use a heat basking bulb and UVB beef my Leo now, and he loves basking all the time. Very good. Thank you. I'm glad that the information's proving useful. I like going to Banbury Weird Creatures. Don't know where that is. Quite cheap to go and train with Julian Clare in DWA. He has a day course in Luton. Luton is quite a long way away from where I live. But now, dangerous wild animals, not something I'm going to be doing in the near future. I presume I will end up doing it at some point. So, I don't know, maybe I'll meet Julian one day. Would be cool. Hopefully, Julian's watching and can give me a discount. But yeah, I think the fact they live birth is just so fun to go around and find all the babies. Oh, is that garter snakes? I don't really know much about garter snakes because in the US, with them sort of being natives and relatively common, you see a lot more garter snakes than we do in the UK, obviously because they aren't native. So basically, the only ones I've ever seen in person are checkered garter snakes, and with them having such a close affinity to water, where I've ever thought, would I keep a garter snake seriously? I've thought I would like to do a sort of water part of the enclosure, and I've not really had the means to do that, which is why I don't know too much about garter snakes because of not like research them that much, because I do more research on the animals I am going to keep than the ones I'm not. But yeah, live birth, I did not actually know they would do that. But another interesting thing about it. That's or is that the? I might have been talking rubbish there. Oh no, hang on. 18 babies and no stillborn. Finally starting to get rid of some. Wow, that is a lot of young from live birth from a small animal. That's really cool. Right. Need big enclosures and huge varied diet. But yeah, garter snakes. They are cool. They are cool. I've ever considered jumping spiders. I keep a pair and they are the most adorable and enjoyable pet I keep. Pretty active, often out, and feeding is really cool. I would be interested in like keeping arachnids out of it, but they're not something I probably will keep because family members really don't like them. Jumping spiders, though, are absolutely minute, and I don't really know how you could oppose keeping jumping spiders, but it's not something I've ever considered or looked into. So maybe I will one day. Banbury is just in Oxfordshire, basically. Oh well, I'm not in Oxfordshire, and I don't live near Oxfordshire normally, so that's why I've never heard of it. Um, would you ever consider getting a Knowles? I am getting them soon. They're super active in natural terrains. I did consider getting an owls before the enclosure that I ultimately decided on getting the chameleon for, which I didn't get. I'd sort of thought about getting a Knowles for previous to the chameleon idea. But I wanted to keep like a Anolis marmoratus, the leopard anole, or I think, what is it now? Anolis alisoni, the Cuban blue-headed anole. But there was like no availability for them, so I thought I won't set it up and bank on that. And obviously that enclosure, the glass one, never even happened anyway. So anoles, from what I can think, probably won't be happening. If I do end up rehoming my crested gecko, and I've got that 45 by 45 by 60 Exoterra, maybe I could utilise that for anoles. Don't know if it's really big enough though. I'd have to think about it, but anoles, they're a small lizard, small diurnal lizard, and therefore they are on my list of favoured animals. Right. How do you ever going to keep a small monitor like an Aki? I have considered an Aki monitor for the reptile room, but I think even though they are small, they should be provided with a large amount of space. Even me bearded dragon in a 5 by 2 by 2 foot, wish it was bigger. Corn snake 5 by 2 by 2 foot, I wish was bigger. An Aki monitor, which when I've seen two in person, one was in very bad condition and barely moved. The other one is in decent condition and moves a lot. And in fact, I've also seen a number of babies in Clubmore Reptiles, and they were incredibly active. So if I was ever going to keep one, I would want to do a really large enclosure, which is not something I've got space for. So as much as I would really like to keep one, I do really like Aki monitors. That won't be happening in the foreseeable. There's also like other small dwarf monitors, whatever. Like I said, me dream reptile's probably a blue tree monitor, but then there's also like Kimberley Rock monitors are incredible. So small monitors, but not on the cards. I'll send you a Tarantulas link. Did you ask them if you could film? It's like I don't follow the conversation that's going on between Liam and Reptiles and Research and Scale Sliders. Need a bit more information there. But what is my next edition? Well, if I turn the enclosure that I should be building myself in December, if I turn that into a multiple species enclosure, then the next edition will be an amphibian or a number of amphibians. Oh God, I think I'm getting quite wise-crossed here. But aside from that, next year, next editions. Do I tell you what they're going to be this early? Do I tell you? Tell you what, if we can get 5 people asking me, 5 people, come on, we can go higher than that. There's 18 people on this live stream. If we can get 10 people leaving comments asking for what is the next edition I'm going to get, then I will tell you. But hang on, right, what am I missing? I'll send you a tarantula sling. Did you ask them if you could film the shop? Tempted to ask my local if they want to do a video. I'm not following it. But if you send me a sling, you might as well send me a sling for my arm as well, because I'll get bloody battered if I'm found with a tarantula in the house. Film the. Do you mean when I did the film of? Oh, when I filmed my local shop. I think they asked me actually. They asked me. I was going to film Clubmore as well, but I've only actually ended up being there once, and then the summer was dead busy, and I never got back to them. Which, when I think about it, it's quite bad. Whoops. But yeah, oh, in fact, I filmed another reasonably local shop a couple of years ago as well, and I asked them that time. So yeah, I don't just go in and like film a shop, because they might like want to tidy up or something if they think it's not tidy, or they might want to close it off because if you film like a member of the public in a shop, even if it's just a reflection or something, and then that member of public sees the video and starts having a go at the shop because they're in a video that they didn't want to be in, then bad relations with the shop. So yeah, Liam, if you are going to film a local shop, then definitely do ask him. We've got a what are they from Liam. We've got what isn't two, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 4, 5, 6, 7. Come on, we've got 7. Well, I suppose we can count the 8th one for 2 more people asking for what the next edition's going to be, and I'll tell you, only 2 more. Liam saying, you do realise blue tea monitors are thought to be venomous now? Well, no, I did not. But if they are, and I was going to get one, then that would be the case that I would. That is when I would learn DWA training, because blue tea monitors are worth anything. Come on, man, what are those new editions going to be? You got to tell us. Well, okay. The ones in everyone's asking now, so I'll just tell you. When I do the new enclosure in December, which is going to be for the line day geckos, it's going to be a big enclosure because I've got 5 line day geckos now that they've had hatchlings, 2 hatchlings. And I want to turn the enclosure they've got now, which is way too small, into like a grow out enclosure for the babies. And I'll move all the adults into a much larger enclosure. Then in that, I want to try and set it up as like a Madagascar biotope. And I'm thinking about getting mantellas to keep in there. Now, whether that is necessarily going to work out, I don't know. But if I don't end up keeping mantellas in there with them, then I think I'm going to do a large enough enclosure where keeping some other lizard in there, like a nocturnal gecko species, might be viable, or perhaps some other species of frog or something. It's on the cards. Whether I end up doing that as a multiple species exhibit, I don't know. But next summer, and the large enclosure, I am going to keep multiple species of Lacertas in. And if I tell you the species, it's going to completely give away the surprise. But let's just say that if I do end up doing any collabs on it, it's going to be with Celtic Reptile and Amphibian. And it's a large enclosure. And I'm going to be keeping multiple species of Lacertas in this enclosure, and probably multiple species of amphibian. So go and look at their channel, go and look at their videos, go and look at what they keep, or look at the videos on my channel when I did the collabs with them, and you might get a flavour for the sort of thing that I'm thinking of setting up. Mr. Mustafa says that I enjoy your videos. You really care for your reptiles. You're always evolving and trying new things. Sorry for my English. Thank you very much. That is the way of keeping reptiles that I try and show, that we've always got to be developing things and not just staying stagnant in this really new hobby. Do I think that 29 gallon is good for a Leo? It is bioactive. What is the dimensions of that? I think a 40-gallon breeder is 3 feet long, 45 centimeters deep, and 45 centimeters tall. So 29 gallon, probably a bit small that for a leopard gecko. I would go bigger. I would say go bigger than that. Liam, have you been offered animals for free since you started YouTube? I've been offered all sorts. Have I ever? My chemistry teacher offered me a musk turtle once. But aside from that, no. Nobody's offered me anything. Probably because they think I'm an irresponsible youth, and I'll end up incinerating the reptiles as some sort of voodoo act or something. I don't know. Whatever youths are meant to do these days. Have you seen Balls to You and Predator BP, the ball python breeders based in the UK? I've not seen Predator BP. I have seen Balls to You. And don't. I think he seems like I don't want to get into personal things, but you guys should know by now that I'm not really a fan of rat breeding. Which basically sums up my thoughts about that one there. 2'6". If you use the space really well, then potentially 2'6" could be viable for one leopard gecko. But you'd want to have a good background up it and things going around the side so that we can climb. And it would have to be really well set out. Honestly, I would just say, do yourself a favour and go for like a 40-gallon breeder or larger, and that will be really good for a leopard gecko. Liam, you've been offered a Sonoran gopher snake, black rat snake, indigo, Aki monitor royals. Lucky you. Well known that delinquents go around torching turtles nowadays. What has this world come to? It's a sad time. Sad time. Torching turtles. Not good. If I was to breed snakes, I would buy frozen mice, rats, frozen online. Don't really get where that's coming from. Have you tried HQI UV lamps? If not, why? HQI? I've never heard of HQI UV lamps. Not sure what you mean there. Maybe just elaborate on that a little bit if you can. Hang on. There's HI. Do you mean HID? Metal halides. Yeah. I've not used metal halides. I don't think for UV provision they are especially good. I think they seem to like burn out after 3 months in terms of providing UVB or something. But they are very useful in different applications. And for that reason, I'll probably end up getting one or a couple over the winter and installing them in my bearded dragons enclosure, which is again what I've mentioned several times throughout this live stream, is what I will be doing that sort of moves a step forwards from what I was talking about with the heat transfers video. How do you build a custom dimension reptile enclosure for a Leo? Well, building your own wooden vivarium is not something I have ever done. I've like always got mine from Flatpack. Here in the UK, the seller that I recommend is Reptilife Vivaria. They seem to be really good, and you can get whatever size you want. Just tell them and they'll do it. There is obviously Viv Exotic as well, which is a brand, and you can get what you like. But in the States, I think it's called Custom Reptile Habitats, does enclosures a bit like that. So you could maybe ask them, see if they'll do a custom enclosure build. Or, of course, you can look online to see how you can build your own enclosure yourself completely from scratch. I will be building the enclosure for the line day geckos, the new big one. I will be building that myself, and that is a glass enclosure. And there are loads of guides on building glass vivaria online, which you can just check out, and it doesn't seem particularly hard. So if you want to go down the glass route, then have a look at those. Liam's Nan Torture Tortoise. Rock on. Ever going to get a small tortoise? We discussed this about tortoises before. I think they need more space than you can provide for them indoors. and whether am feasibly going to be able to keep one outdoors, I don't know. So it's not on the cards at the minute, but I would keep a small tortoise if I had the opportunity. You said he was a rat breeder. No, scale sliders. I said he was a rack breeder. RACK, not RAT. Rat breeding is, by the by. I'm not going into rat husbandry. JTB Reptiles, JTB Rats spin-off brand. But yeah, hang on. So back in the 80s, my nan got a tortoise. When it went into brumation, she thought it was dead, so she chucked it into the fireplace. Of course, it was still alive. Not to be recommended. I'm in the US, and it has to be under 200. The price? Well, if you build it yourself, then it won't be that expensive, I don't think. How come you turn donations off? I have not turn donations off. I just think that your channel has to be above a certain size to have donations. So I'm just going to have to stay poor. As far as pre-made vivs go in the US, we're pretty limited to only a few places. None are very cheap at all. Well, yeah, definitely have a look into Google how to build a Euro style, EURO style glass enclosure, because those do seem pretty easy to build, and that is what I'm going to be building for the line day geckos. I think in most situations, a glass enclosure. In fact, going from what I said in the heat transfers video, actually, glass enclosures might be the way forwards. That's a thought. Remind me of that, someone, at some point. Could you film how you build your glass enclosure? Yeah, sure. I'm definitely going to think about. Well, I will film doing it. Whether it gets uploaded or not depends on whether the enclosure is functional once I've done it. Because if it just sends up a big pile of shattered glass, then I obviously won't. I'm not going to make a video saying how to build a pile of shattered glass. But if it all goes okay, then yeah, it will turn into a video. And yeah. You could build a vivarium for fairly cheap if you're handy. Hardest part is getting glass for doors and getting it sealed for moisture. Glass, certainly in the UK, is not hard to acquire. You can get glass cut really easily, really cheap around where I am. So it's no problem. Yeah. Rack breeding, not my favourite. Would you ever do a deep dive into other reptile YouTubers, and if doing anything wrong, might be interested? Not sure if it'd ruffle some feathers. You see, the thing is with pointing out mistakes that other YouTubers make is that you're just asking for people to do that to you then, because I know for a fact that going back over the years, the stuff I've said that I don't entirely agree with now, and I will say things that are wrong and slip up and make mistakes because we're only human. And so if I were to go around bashing people for getting stuff wrong, then that's like opening the door for people to do that to me, and then that just makes me look bad, not only because I've just been like not particularly nice to other people who have put effort into making videos, albeit the information might be wrong, but I would have to be very, very confident that what I was saying was absolutely correct. And so much of what I'm trying to push forward with reptile keeping is that we don't know what is correct yet. We have to continually reevaluate what we're doing. So if I come out and say, that bit's wrong, it's this instead, but then the next month I want to say, well, the thing that was this instead, we've actually got a new idea now, then just doesn't really work. It's there's only once when I have taken a look at another YouTuber, and that is because I was in that instance, tackling something which I was absolutely sure on, and it's something like the whole mindset that video I referred to does not promote what I am discussing, as in the development of reptile keeping. So I couldn't just sit quiet with that one, but in general, pointing out things that are incorrect is not really something that I want to make a habit of anyway. Not least because it makes people not like you. But Liam can't find glass cheap. Why you gotta move up north? Why you gotta move up north? Best of glass seems to be taking apart old aquariums. Well, for me, seriously, the place where I have bought glass from before is using the same pricings that they were using in 1980, because it was like an old tea-stained piece of paper with pricings on, out of a diary that said 1980 on the front. So how on earth they're staying in business, I do not know. It was a very, very, very cold establishment that I doubt has heating in it, so that might be part of the reason why. But cheap enough for me. Yeah. Why did you go for the Lacerda bilineata instead of Viridis? Any reason? Well, I mean, they're especially similar for one, and also because the Viridis weren't like available to me. So the Lacerda bilineata, I wanted to get stock from Harvey and Tom of Celtic Reptile and Amphibian, just so that like we could do like a collaboration, because I think what they're doing is absolutely brilliant. You want to keep your eye out on those two lads moving forwards, because they are doing some cracking stuff. So I wanted to get involved with them and all that, and I don't think they have any Viridis yet either, but they were like breeding the bilineata, so obviously it was an obvious choice that I would end up working with the bilineata too, because I was getting my stock from them. Ooh, message retracted, Liam. What did you type? But no, they don't work with both Viridis and bilineata. I think they will be working with Viridis. You'd have to ask them about that. Hey, Harvey, Tom, are you still watching this live stream? Because if you are, get down in the comments and answer that man's question. But yeah, questions. Keep them coming, folks. Going to build my Leo a bigger enclosure. I am so determined. Very good. The bigger the enclosure, the better. Obviously, the wild has no size limit, so the bigger you can go, the better. Just make sure that you furnish it properly and you've got the right provision of electromagnetic radiation in there, and you should be okay. Leopard geckos are hardy, and a good enclosure give them space. But yeah, it's ooh, what got me into reptiles? It's a good question, but it's also a bad question, because I don't know what got me into reptiles. I was just sort of one of those weirdos that was born liking them, and has been completely and utterly obsessed ever since. So, I have actually seen home videos of me as like a little kid, like not talking properly, just sort of toddling around with like a long balloon animal, like a sort of blown up pink like balloon, and I was like, there's a video of me running around with it, like making hissing noises, like pretending it's a snake, and that's like before I can talk properly. So I don't know, I just like him. I can also remember from a very early stage coming home from nursery school and watching Steve Irwin's Crocodile Hunter Diaries when I got back. So that was, maybe that's had an influence, but I could talk by the time I went to nursery, and the video with the balloon was before then. So I don't know. I've just been obsessed with him since I was born. Gives me something to do, I suppose. 3 feet for a leopard gecko. Yeah, that's a decent size to go with. Have I been to crocodiles in the wild and been to see them in the wild? No. I've not seen many wild reptiles, to be totally honest with you. But I have been. There's a video on my channel. I think it's called Crocodile Park Feeding Frenzy, from El Parque de Cocodrilos in Torremolinos in southern Spain, which is like a place with loads of Nile crocodiles, and there's American alligators there as well, I think. And I've been there and I've actually seen crocodiles in the flesh, which is nice. Crocodiles of the world. Oh, the zoo. No, I have not. I've not been there, but it'd be a good place to visit. I would like to go and see that place. What's your opinion of putting a baby-sized reptile into a big enclosure? For example, a baby corn snake in a 40-gallon tank or 3-foot vivarium. You can put little tiny reptiles in big enclosures, no bother. If you furnish it properly, what people often do is they have like an enclosure with one little hide in it and a little water bowl and nothing else. And then, big surprise, you put this tiny little animal into a bare environment with one single space where it can curl up and feel like, just feel things touching it, which is an animal that likes to hide away in nooks and crannies in the wild. And somehow people find it like a mystery that, oh, they're afraid of big spaces, they need a small enclosure. Well, no, they don't. If you put more hiding opportunities in that large enclosure, you're not going to have a problem. So for corn snake, I would honestly start out with like a 5-foot vivarium. They are going to use that space when they grow. So a baby one in there, furnished properly. Like my enclosure with all the leaf litter in it, for example, there is an infinite number of hiding places for a hatchling corn snake. So if you were to put one in there, I have no doubt at all that it would do perfectly fine. So I suppose there is the argument that if it's a shy species and it can hide, like, you can't monitor its food intake, which is definitely a viable concern. And if that's the case, then maybe it would be viable to start out with a smaller enclosure. But honestly, in most cases, just start out with that big enclosure, save yourself money, save yourself time setting things up in the future, and give that animal more room to move and just enjoy being alive. Uromastics are cool. Would you keep them? Yes, I would definitely keep Uromastics. I do like Uromastics very much. Again, they're in sort of my favourite group of reptiles, like diurnal lizards. Gotta love them. So Uromastics, yeah, I would definitely keep Euros. And of course, they are incredibly beautiful. Like the ornate Uromastics, blue ones. Oh, I have seen Uromastics Thomasi for sale as well, and they are incredible. But yeah, Uromastics, solid lizards. Them, we'll keep them. Laurie, yeah, agreeing with me on the space thing. Yeah, you can't go wrong with more space. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, Uromastics on the cards for keeping them now. Like, seriously, probably not, because I've not got the space for any more large indoor enclosures. Oh, that might have given the game away. But I haven't got any more space for large indoor enclosures once I've done the line day gecko one. So actually getting a Uromastics won't be happening anytime soon, as much as I like them. Uromastics or Chuckwalla? Ooh. I haven't much like knowledge of Chuckwallas. I've not seen much of them. I've never seen one in person, but I think just based on the colours, probably Euromastics, because like blue's my favourite colour, and blue diurnal lizards. What a solid! I would really love to keep collared lizards, definitely. But again, another thing that I probably won't keep now because I've not got the indoor space. Are you doing a massive outdoor enclosure? Well, you know when I said multiple species of Lacertas, and I said a very large enclosure, and I said go and look at Celtic reptile and amphibian and see what they do. Well, yeah, basically that's what I'm planning on doing. Tomasai is super fun. I have kept them. They are super active and they are not yeah, 250 for a Euromastic. So it's, if you're talking in pounds, that's fairly expensive, like. But I suppose it's not like completely ridiculous. So yeah. I was going to send you a Mexican black king snake when you were thinking of moving on the leopards. Yeah, I think a Mexican black king snake's too big for the space I have, because I was never really seriously thinking of moving on the Chinese leopard snakes. I was sort of toying with it, like at the start of the year when I'd had them and like never ever ever saw them, just put food in. But then you've sort of reached a point now where every time I feed them, they'll come out and take the food, and I go in the room and I do see them now. So they are improving. So I definitely want to keep them at least for a couple of years so I can have the experience of breeding what is quite an uncommon species in the hobby and getting the numbers up. And then after that, I might, move on to another small species of snake. I don't really like, well, I've never ever done it, like have a species and then keep it for a while and then sort of change. But with me sort of filling up all the space in my reptile room, and I want to get that experience working with a range of species so that in the future, if I am doing serious conservation work, then I have that below my belt so that I'm not making any rookie mistakes with rare things where if I lose the animals, then, it's a serious matter. I would rather make the mistakes now with pets, which I suppose is a bit blunt, to say that, really, that I would, if I'm going to make mistakes and like harm animals, I would like to get it out the way and do it with pets rather than something else. But I hope that you can sort of see the logic behind that. So once I've got a couple of years and like successfully bred the Chinese leopard snakes, then because they don't really, from what I can see, they don't really fit in well. They don't like fit the bill of the sort of reptiles that are my favourites. Then potentially I would look at keeping something else, but for now that is not going to happen. They are here to stay. But yeah, I don't know if anybody else has any more questions. We've been on for 1 hour and nearly 3/4 at the minute, so I'm free to stay on for like another quarter of an hour. So if anybody does have any pressing questions, if you want to ask me about any husbandry sort of thing, then that would be a-okay. I would be okay to answer that. Or again, if you just want to answer any random questions, like about pickles again, we had that earlier in the live stream, if anybody didn't catch that. But yeah, I suppose I might as well say, because people have, oh, hang on. Are there any reptile expos in the UK? Good question, that. Yes, there are. There's Doncaster Reptile Show is the big one. I think there's also one in Essex. And I want to say there's another one. But the only sort of big main one is Doncaster Reptile Show, which I've never been to. I was going to go this year, and I was going to film going, and I was going to get some animals from there, but then coronavirus came in and blew that plan out the water. So I've never actually been to a reptile show, but as it happened, what I've ended up doing, how things went with Harvey and Tom and doing the collaborations and doing more with like European species, I think that is a lot better than what I had planned, because Lacertas, I love Lacertas. Lacertas are boss. Just putting it out there. If you don't like them, you should go research them, like them. You must. Lacertas, cool. But yeah, so yeah, one main reptile show here really. Who do I think is going to blow up? I think you and Laurie. I'm not going to blow up. Bloody hell, there's no bombs in here. No, I presume you mean in terms of subscribers. I don't think I'm going to blow up. I think my channel's probably going to die. I'm at university and I'm not uploading enough. I've been here making videos for years and years now. And most people have already done their 5K subscriber live streams after a bit sooner than 7 or 8 years. So I don't think I'm really going to blow up, especially now the upload frequency's dropped a little bit because of university. But hopefully, I think Laurie's definitely going to blow up, and Laurie Tarini, because any viewers, go and check out Laurie's channel, because she's doing some really good stuff, and it's really like repeatable. So what she's doing with training animals is something that any viewer can do, really. So it's something that you can get involved with. And for that reason, I think, Liam, you're probably right. I'd say Laurie's going to blow up in terms of subscribers, not explosives. Final question. What are you doing with the babies after you breed them? Well, when I've got, I've got numerous breeding projects started now. So I've got the line Day Geckos, which I've already got babies from, but isn't announced in a video and won't be for a long time. Because well, I sort of like I knew that sort of eggs were laid a couple of months ago, but I sort of forgot about it because I hadn't seen anything and I thought they would have hatched. But they did actually incubate in situ, and like a couple of days before I went to university is when I sort of the babies hatched and I found them in the enclosure. So I've not like managed to film any videos of anything, and therefore those like aren't going to be probably announced for a long time. Apart from here now, and also on my Instagram and all that, which that's that. But just babies generally. I'll probably end up selling them. Because I've not got space to just keep having more and more reptiles. I will be moving them on to, I will heavily vet any homes any of my animals go to. I am not just giving them away to anyone. But yeah, that's what I'll be doing. I'll be selling them. Laurie, my stuff is so specific, it's tough to build an audience. Well, get it shared, and I think, honestly, that you will do particularly well with what you're doing, Laurie. How long did it take me to hit 1K? I can't actually check. Let me just check for you. I will answer another question. Enjoyed interview. Keep trying to learn about BFN. Don't know what BFN stands for, but thank you, David Oakley. Let's have a look. Ask any more. Was 1K or 2K faster? I think 1K to 2K was faster than 0 to 1K. Because blah 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 blah. Move back. 1K. Ask any more questions if you want, by the way, because we've only got 10 minutes before I'm going to end the stream. Okay, so I reached July 2018. I reached July 2018 is when I reached 1,000 subscribers. And my first video was 20. It took me 5 years to get 1,000 subscribers, Liam. So remember that. That's shockingly bad that it's taken me 7 years to reach 5k subscribers. Anyway, have we got any more questions? Any more little general bits of chit chat before I round up this stream? No? No more talk? I'll wait for a couple of seconds in case the chat is just slowing down. Thank you, you're very welcome. Pooh? Pooh to you too. Oh, ooh, okay. When's the round table? Oh, the round table. Don't have a clue, actually. We'll have to organise that. The round table sort of podcast thing that me, Dylan, Animals from Animals at Home, and also I think Harvey from Celtic Reptile and Amphibian, we have a particular debate to go through, and we're going to do like a sort of round table podcast thing, which should be fun. What was the game? I haven't got a clue what you mean about game. Said earlier. If I did, is it online or in reality? I've not a clue what's going on here. But anyway, I think people have pretty much asked all the questions. If you do have any more questions, then do pop them in quickly and I will answer them before we sign off. But I think for now we've been on for 1 hour and 51 minutes. Oh, is it online or in reality? No, it's online. Dylan from Animals at Home is in Canada, and me and Harvey are in the UK. So without plane flights, it wouldn't really be possible to do it in person. So yeah, it is just online, like all the other podcasts that are available on the Animals at Home channel. But yeah, with that, it seems to be that people are sort of signing off now. There's only 11 people watching, and one of them is me. On a one final question. Okay, I am at university. This is not my home. I haven't got daft pipes going around like that, or dents in the wall. That's university property, not me. Love to do a collab with you. Collabs. Don't know what's happening with collabs, to be honest. Time, schedules, all stuff for the future. But anyway, I think I'm going to round this up now because sort of the chat is drying up and people aren't asking questions anymore, and there are less people online than there were than a while ago. So once again, I would just like to thank everybody for joining in with this live stream, because obviously live streams when it's just like 6 people watching are absolutely terrible. So we've had a decent number of people joining, which has been really good. So thank you for that. And of course, the reasoning for this live stream in the first place is reaching 5,000 subscribers, which I can not thank you all enough for. I will reiterate the point that I made in the post that I put up about reaching 5,000 subscribers, which is that this JTB Reptiles would not be possible without your input, recommending videos, making suggestions on the content of the videos, telling me what you do like, what you don't like. Any feedback gives me something to work from. Just sitting there silent and not getting any views does not help. So all of those that have ever given me any feedback, even if it's as simple as liking a video or disliking a video, then that has been really helpful. So thank you very much. And for now, Once again, this has been me, JTB Reptiles, teaching you how to follow nature's example, or just answering your questions or whatever. And that is it. And I will see you in the next video, which will be a reptile room tour that I should make public in about a week and a half. So that's it for now. Once again, ta-da!